we have often heard, look deep into nature and then you will understand everything better. Good afternoon, everyone. As we begin our session, a webinar on magical mangroves in Mumbai, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all our participants today. We are so lucky to be a part of this nature club at Thakur College of Science and Commerce, which encourage initiatives such as knowing deeply and creating awareness among students on various issues which are facing related to our mother nature. Club has conducted various seminars and workshops on topic water resource management, future research opportunities in Antarctica, and today we are happy that we are going to learn on magical mangroves in Mumbai. Now, I would like to call upon our Nature Club conveyor, Dr. Vittal Mohite, to introduce our esteemed speaker and guest of honor, Mr. Lakshmikant Deshpande. So I request Vittal Mohite sir to take the dais. Sir, unmute yourself, sir. Sir, unmute yourself, please.
Good afternoon to all. Thank you, Poonam Madam. It is my great pleasure and privilege to introduce today's eminent speaker, environmentalist, Mr. Sri Lakshmikant Deshpande, who has completed his post-graduation in the field of environmental science from the University of Pune. Since then, he has worked it along with the well-known organizations like NERI, BNHS, Godrej, Center for the Environment, Research and Education. He has been a consultant for Maharashtra Forest Department, Sahyadri Nisarga Mitra, as well as his areas of the interest and the expertise on the climate change, biodiversity conservation, wetlands, mangrove ecosystem of Mumbai, solid waste management, and corporate social responsibility. In 2008, he has nominated for Darwin Scholarship on the Biodiversity Monitoring and Education offered by the Field of Studies Council for Environment Education, UK. He successfully completed and now recognized as a Darwin Scholar internationally. Lakshmikant sir, notable invitees include the development of Mangroves mobile app, development of Indradhanusha Citizen Environment Center at Pune, discuss Pune's environmental issues, development of biodiversity gardens at Alibag. He is also associated with the Mumbai's SDNP campaign with the media and Mumbai police on the man-wild conflict. He is coordination for the Green Teacher Diploma course for the teachers and the contribution of 12 standard environmental science textbooks for the Maharashtra board. He has published 20 newspaper articles, research papers so far. Lakshmikant sir has conceptualized and coordinate a few first of their kind project on the mangroves like Mangroves mobile app, a storybook for the childrens in English and Marathi. Currently, Sir is working as a senior manager for mangroves conservation and environmental sustainability with the Godrej and Biosi Magnified Company Limited. He drives research conservation and awareness initiative on mangroves, biodiversity, water and solid waste management. We all are very much eager to hear Lakshmikant sir. Sir, I am handing it over to you. Sir, Lakshmikant sir, please, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mohita sir. Thank you, Jain ma'am. I hope I'm clearly audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Give me just 1 minute. I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have shared a presentation and I hope it is visible now.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yes, sir.
All right. So thank you, Thakur College, for this warm welcome. Thanks for the invitation. Lakshmikant here from Godrej. And the beautiful forest in the screen I know it looks amazing, out of world, and perhaps those who stay in Kerala, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, or even in Konkan region, you might be feeling that this is a very remote forest, but you will be surprised to know that this is view of our own Mumbai city. This is in our Godrej at Vikhroli, called as Pirocha Nagar Mangroves, Pirocha Nagar township of Godrej, where we have conserved almost 12 square kilometer big mangrove ecosystem. Again, I know it is difficult to imagine 12 square kilometer. I will make it simple for you. I'm sure all of you have watched cricket match at least on the TV screen, and we know how big a stadium is, cricket stadium is. So if you bring together 410 cricket stadiums together, that big forest we are talking, conserved at Vikhroli, Ghatkopar and Kanjurmarg by Godrej. We do a lot of awareness programs. So today's talk also is an awareness talk thanks to the Thakur College. So what are mangroves? When we talk about mangroves, people get very confused. Some people say it is a type of plant. Some people say it is a different plant species. Some people say it is a type of forest, while some insist it is an ecosystem. So whether it is a plant, forest, or ecosystem. My dear friends, mangroves means everything. Mangroves actually is a group of plants which can tolerate very high salinity. They are found in a forest in intertidal area. Okay, we will come to it later. What is intertidal area? This is a very, very old ecosystem, almost 114 million years old. So again, I'm sure all of us have watched Jurassic Park movie. It's very favorite of ours. And Jurassic era was the time when dinosaurs were very dominant on the earth. So when Jurassic era was actually ending, the next era was Mesozoic era. In this era, the plants and animals started shifting from oceans to the terrestrial ecosystems. We know that life evolved in the oceans, and there was stiff competition. And gradually now, when they found suitable atmosphere on land, terrestrial ecosystems started evolving. So that was the also time when mangroves started moving to the land area. In short, mangroves is a plant, it is a forest, and it is an ecosystem as well. I know that it is a very mixed audience today. We have different streams. So I have tried to make it simple and not very technical. Okay. India, of course, has very rich heritage and culture, and we have one of the oldest civilizations. Obviously, Indian mangroves are also no exceptions to that. This is photograph of a temple from Chidambaram in Tamil Nadu, and this temple was built in 12th century. 12th century by Chola dynasty. This is a mangrove temple in Chidambaram, and you will see the old priest worshipping a plant. So that plant is milky mangrove. We will see a real milky mangrove, of course, later. But this is one of the oldest records of mangroves.
Sir, you have muted yourself, please.
Yeah, somebody actually muted everybody.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So mangroves are found in many countries of the world. Almost 130 countries host mangroves, but their uniqueness is that they are found only in tropical and subtropical countries, which means they are found 0 degree to 30 degree north and 0 degree to 30 degree south. And friends, there is a reason for that. Tropical and subtropical countries are the countries which get rich sunlight, which have warm waters, and mangroves require at least 18 to 20 degree temperature of the waters around them. So obviously, the cold Europe and Antarctic and Arctic, these continents are not going to have such warm temperatures. So we are one of the few countries of the world which is gifted with the mangroves. And incidentally, also the world's oldest and largest mangrove forest is also found in India. It is shared by India and Bangladesh. Any guess what is the name of the forest? What is the name of the forest which is largest mangrove forest of the world, shared by India and Bangladesh. You can type your answers in the chat boxes if you want. Yeah, the oldest and the largest mangrove forest of the world is Sundarbans. 1/3 of Sundarban forest is in India and 2/3 is in Bangladesh. Okay. When it comes to the several coastal states of India, many states host mangroves, especially on the east coast and the west coast. Again, there is a question for you. It's a sort of self-assessment. Okay, it's not a test. It is just a guess game. Guess which state, which Indian state has largest mangrove cover? Which state has largest mangrove cover? First, second, third, fourth. Arrange in the sequence. Only for you, for your understanding. We will check the answers later. Okay. Which state has the highest mangrove cover and which one has the least? Not least, but among these four. Okay, let us have a look at the answer. So obviously, as I said sometime back, the biggest mangrove forest in the world is found in West Bengal. So West Bengal tops the chart. Then there is Gujarat. Then we have Andaman and Nicobar. And then we have Andhra Pradesh. So Maharashtra, you will see also is among top 6-7 states. We have big mangrove forest. And there was a very unique study conducted on Indian mangroves by a pioneer researcher called Dr. Kathiresan of Tamil Nadu. And he has so far documented almost 5,747 plant and animal species. Yes, more than 5,700 plant and animal species in Indian mangroves. And this is a world record. So now we can understand how rich mangrove forest we have. Okay. So we have West Bengal as the topmost. Now a typical mangrove ecosystem, if you see, you have gone to Bandra Bandstand, Warsaw Beach, or maybe Marine Drive, you have gone Kulaba. Some of you might have come to Godrej Mangroves at Vikroli. Many of you may have traveled to, your college site, which is Gorai, then Kandivli, Murtinagar, so many mangrove areas in Mumbai. Whenever you visit a mangrove forest, these are the typical characteristics of the environment that you observe. The entire environment is highly saline, even the wind is salty, right? There is limited fresh water because seawater is reaching at these locations. The water is salty. In the soil and in the water, oxygen is limited, unlike fresh water. The soil is loose because whenever very dynamic sea attacks a shoreline, the soil becomes very loose and tidal and wind forces are very strong. So in a typical mangrove environment, it is difficult for a forest to grow. Understand that it is a harsh environment. If you try to plant any other normal tree in this environment, it will not survive. Okay, it will immediately perish or it will die. But mangroves can actually grow in this environment because of certain characteristics that they have. Now let us see what are the adaptations that the mangroves have. Okay, they have tried to cope up with many problems that the environment offers them. The first problem and the strongest problem for them is excessive salinity. There is too much of salt in the environment and they need to cope up with this salt. Either they have to stop the salt from coming in, or they have to filter out, or they have to throw out. So you will see that many mangrove species have many arrangements, natural adaptations in the course of evolution. Some trees on the left-hand side, like red mangroves, they filter out the salt. That means they have natural filters on their roots and body, and they will filter out this salt. They will not allow the salt to come inside the body. Then some trees like river mangrove, they will store the salt in their body. They will just store it so that they can cope up with the excessive salt. And then some trees like gray mangrove, what they will do is like our sweat glands, like human body has sweat gland, these trees have salt glands. So through salt glands, they actually throw out excessive salt. So if you see a typical gray mangrove during summer, you will see the tree is shining. The tree shines because of the salt crystals. Observe it when you travel on the highway or through train next time, and you will see these trees are shining because of the salt crystals on the leaves. So we saw that they have three mechanisms to cope up with excessive salts. They will filter out, they will store, or they will throw out the salt, excessive salt. Okay, now let us see what is their next adaptation. They have extensive and diverse root network, and these many types of roots help them in many ways. For example, prop roots. Okay, on the left hand side you will see prop roots. When a tree is bending, because I told you that the sea is very dynamic, the soil is very loose, and many trees bend over here. So when a tree starts falling, these tree produce prop roots. They will grow towards the soil from the tree, and they will give support to the tree. So they are like natural sensors. A tree has natural sensors, and tree will give out these roots to stop their fall down. Then in the middle you will also see stilt roots, right? The stilt roots are for support. We know, we see in the construction that whenever a building is built, there are stilts. What is the purpose of the stilt? It is to give support. So this tree also has a stilt root, red mangrove. The main purpose is to ensure that the tree does not fall down in the mud. Okay. Then we have buttress roots, again, which is a support mechanism. Then we have cable roots. Cable roots are like our normal roots a tree has to absorb the nutrients. And then they have extremely unique and extremely rare roots called as breathing roots. Friends, no other trees on the earth have breathing roots, only these mangroves have breathing roots. So simply speaking, breathing root is like a nose of a tree. Each tree will have these thousands of noses. Why they are important? Because during low tide, when there is no seawater, the breathing root will be exposed. They will absorb the oxygen from atmosphere, and they will provide this oxygen to the parent tree. So I told you that the oxygen is deficient in this environment. There is very less oxygen, but these breathing roots actually then compensate this deficiency by absorbing the oxygen from the atmosphere, right? So these roots are important not only for mangroves, but also for human beings, because they perform two important functions. First, they will prevent the shoreline erosion. Okay, what I mean is, I'm sure you have gone to Bandra Bandstand or Warsaw or Marine Drive, and you have seen those huge stones over there, concrete stones, which are called as tetrapods. So these tetrapods, friends, are manufactured in factory and actually transported and put over there. Their only purpose is to stop sea attack, to stop sea erosion. But if you see on the eastern coast of Mumbai, the mangrove forest gives this service free of cost. So for us, they are very important. Second thing is, this dense root network is also excellent pollution filter. So these roots absorb all the complex chemical pollutants, and they break down into nutrients. So by controlling pollution, they are also helping wildlife and human beings alike. So the roots are important not only for mangroves, but also for other animals and human beings. Then the best and very rare adaptations that they have is called as viviparous germination. See, reproduction is very important for every species. Every species has to multiply, and even mangroves have to multiply. Now, as I told you, that they grow in intertidal area, the area between high tide and low tide. Okay. Now, if you plant a seed over there, if you plant a tree over here, what will happen is during high tide, the sea wave will carry all the plants over there, and the plant will never survive. But mangroves cannot afford that problem, because if the seed falls down, and if the mangrove seed or sapling is carried away by sea wave, then they will never reproduce. So to overcome these problems, they have an adaptation called as viviparous germination. So like mammals, you can see I have given you three pictures in the slide. You can see there is a long fruit of the mangroves, and there is something brown colored on the top. Okay. So this is called as propagule. So this is a seed which has roots and leaves hidden inside the fruit. So in case of mangroves, the roots and shoots will develop even when the seed is on the parent body. And during low tide, this long arrow-like fruit will pierce into mud, and it will start growing. because of the particular shape of the fruit, it will just go and pierce itself and attach into the mud. So by doing that, mangroves have actually found support in the mud. So this kind of germination is called as viviparous germination. So the trees which have cable roots, spreading roots, stilt roots, prop roots, viviparous germination, salt lands, these are all adaptations. These trees are called as mangrove trees. So now next time when you go on a shoreline or on a beach, do check out for mangroves and try to find out how many adaptations those particular trees have. And then you will get your answer. Okay, so this was about adaptations of the mangroves. Now let us understand why we should conserve mangroves. It's okay that college has given a lecture, arranged a lecture today, but the first question that we should ask is why are mangroves so important? So we have sort of categorized, I have classified mangrove benefits into different types of ecosystem services. Okay, so the first service that is called as provisioning, that means provide. Mangroves provide us with something, so that service is called as provisioning. So trees like miswak will have very tasty red berries, which is a food for many tribals. So they provide us food. Then they provide us research avenues for many colleges, researchers. They provide excellent research avenues. They give us raw material, like tannin, timber, because mangroves stand tall during in sea waves and still don't degrade. They have excellent quality of timber, which can be used in construction material. So they have timber as one of the important use for industry. They also contribute to the freshwater through hydrological cycle because they contribute to the rainfall. They're actually also indirectly source of fresh water for us. They give us medicines. You will not believe, but right now, many mangrove species are being used for medicines on leprosy, on even HIV and cancer. They are under research. They are, of course, a source of ornaments and livelihoods, because you have heard about ecotourism probably. Ecotourism is environment-friendly tourism. So the forest department in India, they are actually encouraging tourists to have boat rides in mangrove waters. By doing that, it's a source of recreation for urban people, but for rural people, they also give livelihoods because these fisher folks can take you to the boat ride and charge you for that. So by doing that, they are earning their daily income. And that is how mangroves can support the urban and rural poor population. So there are so many things that mangroves provide us. Now, their next service is regulating. That means they regulate environment. They maintain air quality. By air quality, I mean temperature and also carbon dioxide. I'm sure all of you have heard about carbon sequestration or climate change or global warming, right? Climate change or global warming is because of the increasing greenhouse gases. There are 6 gases on the earth which are increasing in quantity due to pollution, due to human emission, and now they are forming a thick blanket around the earth. And because of that, we have all these tsunamis and flash floods and many natural calamities. Researchers have realized that actually mangroves can capture carbon dioxide. Not only that, they can in fact capture and store carbon dioxide 4 or 5 times more than terrestrial forest. So if you compare our Borivali National Park and mangroves, definitely mangroves can actually capture more carbon dioxide than our Sanjay Gandhi National Park or Borivali National Park. So now you realize why mangroves are so important, especially in city like Mumbai, which is very densely populated, which has so many service sectors, industries, vehicles, factories, ACs. There are unlimited sources of carbon dioxide. So for such city, it is very possible to become a gas chamber, but it is not becoming gas chamber because we have our national park Tungareshwar and mangroves on coastline that help in carbon sequestration. So that is why they regulate air and water quality and help in maintaining the temperature and carbon level. Okay. The next service that they give is habitat for wildlife. Again, in a city like Mumbai, it is difficult to believe, but yes, we have very thriving wildlife. In fact, let me give you an example of Godrej mangrove itself. we have been documenting our biodiversity at Vikrori, and you will be surprised to know that so far we have recorded 208 bird species, 82 butterfly species, 81 spider species, then 16 types of mangrove and mangrove associates, 31 types of snakes and lizards and geckos, then around 22 types of fish, 13 types of crabs, and 7 types of prawns. So many, right? Then we also have mongoose, we have wild boar, and we have golden jackal. So we also have some carnivorous mammals in this forest, all living together with Godrej colonies and industry. So you can imagine that if only Godrej mangroves has so much of biodiversity, what is the kind of wildlife that entire Mumbai is hosting? So people generally tend to believe that Mumbai is very polluted, life here is dead. No, my friends, Mumbai is very much alive and we have very dense wildlife in our city. So we must protect it. In fact, mangroves being coastal forest, they have 3 types of wildlife. They have marine animals, they have coastal animals, and then they have terrestrial animals. That means they have animals in the deep sea. They have animals which are found only on the coast. And then they also have animals which are found in the terrestrial forest. Because of this borderline location, in fact, they have more biodiversity than terrestrial forest many times. And that is why it becomes our responsibility to conserve these habitats and save the wildlife. Culturally, mangroves are very important. This is a very famous example. You can see one goddess and god and a tiger, right? So this is a very famous goddess from West Bengal, Sundarban. It is called Bon Bibi or Banadurga. In Bengali, Bon means one, forest, okay? Bon Bibi. Now the interesting feature about this goddess is she is found in both Hindu and Muslim cultures. Okay, so Muslims call her Bon Bibi and Hindus call her Vanadurga. The story goes like this. She was actually queen of the mangrove forest in Sundarban, and the forest had local fisher folk, tribals and community who used to go for fishing every day, and they were poor people. So one day a king from south called Dakhin Rai attacked Sundarban forest, and he decided to make all these fisher folk slave. So fisher folks were obviously very scared. They were not warriors. You know, they had no fighting skills. So they went to this Bon Bibi goddess and told her, oh goddess, please save us, please protect us. So she took her brother with her, and she had a pet tiger apparently. So she sat on pet tiger and she fought Dakhin Rai's army and she defeated him. So because of her courage and because of her fight, the community was spared from the invasion. So that is why whether Hindu or Muslim fisher folks, whenever they go to the sea for fishing, they all worship her. So you will see both dargahs and mandirs of Bon Bibi Vanadurga in Sundarban. So amazing. I mean, India is such a diverse country and we are so blessed to have so many mythologies and stories. We should really be together and protect it. Then of course, aesthetics is another cultural sense. If you stay near the forest, your senses calm down, you feel more fresh, you can meditate, you can play. So at the bottom, you will see green picture of some buildings and some trees and forest. So this is our Godrej Creekside colony at Vikrori. One of our colonies is actually located inside the mangrove forest. So that's why I say that I have best workplace in Mumbai and best house in the Mumbai because we are surrounded by the mangrove forest. So culturally also mangroves are very important. Okay. Now let us see how many of you are aware about the mangrove trees. So far we discussed about mangrove forest. Now let us have a look at the mangrove trees, which mangrove trees we have in Mumbai. So I have given 4 names in this poll. Can you guess which is the most dominant plant in Mumbai? or even in India, in Mumbai, Maharashtra and India, which mangrove plant is most common? And they are in the picture. In the picture, you can see an image and greenery and some trees. All these trees belong to one single species. Any guess? Orange, gray, sea, holly, red mangrove? Okay. So the answer is gray mangrove. The gray mangrove is most dominant species in India. And of course, that is because of a reason. These are the images of gray mangrove, most common mangrove plant in India. It is dominant for two reasons. A, it can tolerate high salinity, and B, it can tolerate high pollution. We know that most of India's western coastline is very polluted because of the industries and domestic pollution, but gray mangrove has capacity to withstand this pollution and break it into nutrients. So for these reasons, gray mangrove is the most common plant. It has a sweet pungent smell during monsoon when it blossoms, and obviously the flower is rich with nectar, so will attract many butterflies and insects towards it. We can also see the fruit. The fruit is used by local fisher folk to make pickle. So how we make pickle of mango, जसं आपण आंब्याचं लोणचं बनवतो, in same way fisher folks also use these fruits to make pickle, and its wood also is used to make boats and fishing poles. So locally very important plant and most common plant, that is gray mangrove. Then next species, which is very important, is mangrove apple. Okay. Soneracia apetala or mangrove apple. It is called as mangrove apple because its fruits are round and look like raw apple, as you can see in the image. See its breathing roots. Even breathing roots are very different than gray mangroves. We can see they are conical in shape. At the base, they are broad, and on the top, they become narrow and become pointed. So this is how even from breathing roots, you can identify plant species. So this is a mangrove apple plant, and mangrove apple plants are of two types. This is Soneracia apetala, and then there is next plant, which is called as Soneracia alba. Both plants are called as mangrove apple, okay? But look at the difference. In first plant, the leaves are narrow, right? The apex is pointed. Look at this plant. The leaves are rounded and oval in shape, right? And you will see that in first plant, the flower is white in color, correct? Completely white and green in color. Whereas look at this plant, the flower is reddish in color, correct? So this is called as Soneracia alba. And dear friends, this mangrove apple, Soneracia alba, is also state mangrove tree of Maharashtra. So how we have state fruit, state flower, state mangrove tree, similarly we have state mangrove apple, state mangrove tree, state mangrove flower, state mangrove fruit, state mangrove tree, state mangrove flower, state mangrove fruit, state mangrove tree, state mangrove flower, state mangrove tree, state mangrove fruit, state mangrove tree, state mangrove fruit.
I think there is a network glitch. Sir, are you present here? Because we are not able to hear you.
Sir, you are not audible. Hello.
I think there is some network glitch, sir. Just
Okay, okay,
I
okay.
just call him.
Yeah.
I request all the participants please wait. Sir will be connecting in 2 minutes.
Yes, sir. Hello, sir, you can start. Hello, sir, your voice is not there.
Am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah, sir. Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes, sorry, I was disconnected. Uh, I will need to share my screen, I think, again. Okay, I'm sharing my screen. Please let me know when it is visible.
Yes, sir, it's
Okay,
visible.
Yes, sir.
It's visible.
screen display.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry. So I think I was telling you about mangrove apple trees, the both species that we have. Okay, this is Soneretia apetala, and we have Soneretia alba. And Soneretia alba is the state mangrove tree of Maharashtra. Maharashtra is in fact the first state to give the status to a mangrove tree for conservation of mangrove ecosystem. And again, uniqueness of this particular flower, this Soneretia alba, is that it blossoms at night. म्हणजे त्याची रात्री फुलते ती. तर रात्री फुलल्यामुळे obviously it is pollinated by creatures like bats that are active during night time. So this tree is also important for us because it can actually grow in very unstable conditions. So whenever a mangrove cell or forest department wants to plant mangroves, they will prefer this particular species because it will grow even in unstable conditions and it will start growing the forest over there. So it is called as pioneer species, called as mangrove apple. Okay. Then we have river mangrove. It is called river mangrove because this plant is very delicate. It cannot tolerate high salinity. And because it cannot tolerate high salinity, it will grow more towards river end or it will grow where there is some amount of fresh water. So it is called as river mangrove. It is known by its sweet scented flowers. Pandri फुलं दिसतात बघा. So these flowers are very scented and they are rich with nectar. So they are also used in apiculture. So in Orissa and West Bengal, when they grow actually honeybees for nectar, they purposely plant river mangrove over there just to attract honeybees in the area as a source of nectar. Then we have orange mangrove, excellent source of charcoal. It is also used as fish poison by the local fisher folk. Again, one of the rare mangrove species. It is not found very commonly. In Mumbai also, we can see it. In fact, in Gorai area near Borivali and at Charkoperia in Kandivali, you can see some trees. These photographs are also taken at Kandivali only. So when you are in Kandivali East, the mangrove forest is in Kandivali West over there. So do visit mangrove forest, which is in fact very close to you.
Yes.
Then we have red mangrove, and it is very easy to identify red mangrove. You will see stilt roots. See, the tree is tall and it has prominent stilt roots. And again, you will be surprised to know that these stilt roots are actually commercially important. In Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, they use these roots to make tea. जसं आपण चहाची पावडर वापरतो, चहाची पत्ती वापरतो, same way these people from Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, they use peels of these roots to make tea, and it is apparently very costly tea world over. So this also is a commercially important plant. Then this is called milky mangrove. In Marathi, it is called as Sood. The mythology is that if you go and cut this tree, it will take revenge. And it is not a myth, it is true. It is also called as blind your eyes mangrove. So actually, when you cut this tree, you get white latex, white milky latex, which has a chemical called alkaloid. And this alkaloid, by mistake, if it enters human eyes, you can get temporary blindness. You need to go to a doctor immediately. So the story goes like this: if you go and cut this tree, the tree will make you blind. So it is called as blind your eyes mangrove. But the same latex, same poisonous latex, is also medicine on leprosy and rheumatism. So rheumatism means joint pains. You must have seen some people having joint pains, especially at elbows or knees. So for these people in Ayurveda, the milk is prescribed as medicine. So though poisonous, it is a medicinally important trees. Then we have meswak. I'm sure you have heard about meswak plant and meswak toothpaste. So the roots of these plants are used to make toothpaste. The plant also has very sweet alcoholic berries, and because they have alcohol in them, birds, insects, and animals love the berries. So when it is fruiting, the flower and the fruit is in bloom, you will see that these trees are flooded with different types of birds and insects on them. Okay, so I will not take too much of time in explaining plants. I know this is not a biology class, but I will only want to ask you one question. What is this? Let us see how many people now guess. What is this? Is this a tadpole? Is this a frog baby? Is this a lizard? Is this a fish? What is it? It can't be a fish, right? It is outside water. And we know that fish are inside the water. Is it a fish?
It's mudskipper.
Yeah, correct. It is mudskipper. It is a fish. It is called mangrove indicator. Indicator species means those animals which are found in a particular ecosystem. Their presence indicate presence of certain ecosystem. So this is a mudskipper called as Newti in Marathi. It is also a local delicacy. Fisher folks actually catch it and sell it and eat it. It will be a very rich source of proteins, and it can breathe through its skin, and you will see they have very big gill pouches. So they store water in gill pouches and they can stay out of water for many hours. So this is a particularly mangrove indicator species called as mudskipper or Newti in Marathi. Okay. Now let us have look at another particular feature of mangroves. It's food chain. You know, we have all learnt about food chain in our school and college, and we know that the food chain starts from plants, right? But in case of mangroves, it is a bit different. In case of mangroves, what happens is the food chain starts with plants, but in a different way. The leaf litter of mangroves, you know, the dead leaves, that leaf litter actually forms nutrient source. Lot of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, potassium, chlorides, sulfates, nitrates, all these nutrients, they emerge from decaying leaf litter, and smaller animals like fish, crabs, prawns, lobsters, insects, they all eat these dead and decaying leaves. Then bigger animals feed on the smaller animals, and this is how food chain starts in mangroves. So because it starts with decaying matter, it is called as detritus food chain. Now let us have a look at this interesting video of how detritus food chain works. So see how actually the smart crab has a gray mangrove fruit with it, and it is actually breaking the fruit and eating it. Amazing, no? So this is how detritus food chain starts in mangrove forest. Then there are, of course, different indicator species I was telling. I have listed a few more animals for you, which are found in mangroves. For example, rosy starlings, very noisy migratory birds, which travel all the way from Europe to India during winter and form a big flock of many hundred birds. And because they live meswak, because they feast on meswak berries, they all gather together in meswak forest. Then we have also telescopium shell, which is a sort of snail with shell, and that is also very tasty. So local fisher folks, when they go for fishing, they pick up these telescopium shells from mangroves. They roast in fire and they eat the soft animal inside it. So it is an excellent protein source. Then we have salmon Arab butterfly, which is found only in mangrove forest. We have fiddler crab or Ekanangi kekada. Ekanangi kekada it is called because you can see its one pincer is very big in size, right? And that is a male crab attracting a female. It's a courtship behavior. So fiddler crab is again found only in mangroves. So it is a mangrove indicator. Then we have white cheek bulbul and we have mudskipper fish. So these are the some of the animals that are found typically in mangroves. So they are called as mangrove indicator animals. Now let us have a look at the some more animals like painted grasshopper, wild boar, catfish, glossy marsh snake, and golden jackal. So I will not explain details of these animals, but trust me, every animal has very interesting story and they have very unique characteristics which other animals will not have. So you can Google out and find out more information about these creatures if you are interested. So these are very typical mangrove animals that I wanted to show you. Then we, as I said, we had one research in Godrej mangroves just 2 years back, and we found 81 different types of mangroves in just 1 year research, and that too only in Vikhroli. So now imagine if Vikhroli mangroves has 81 types of spiders, what is the kind of biodiversity we are discussing in Mumbai, Maharashtra and India. But sadly, all this biodiversity is also threatened. It is under threat because of human interference. As usual, we are killing the mangrove forest also, like many other ecosystems, either because of encroachment or because of fish farming, aquaculture, because of excessive tree cutting, or because of dumping our garbage. Like in Mumbai, you know that every dumping ground of garbage is in mangrove forest, whether it is Gorai in Borivali, Devnar in Chembur, Kanjurmarg or Mulund. All the four dumping grounds are actually inside the mangrove forest. So they are huge threat to the mangrove biodiversity of Mumbai. Then of course, even sewage, you know, some of you may know that BMC collects only 40% of wastewater and treats it. That means 60% of wastewater is not treated and it is just left like that in creeks and in seas around Mumbai. And that is why the mangroves are under threat from pollution also. Having said that, the Indian government and Maharashtra government has realized importance of mangroves and they are legally protected. There are many laws which protect mangroves. And if you see any destruction of mangroves through all these acts that I told you, you can actually contact Forest Department and lodge a complaint. So this is 1926. 1926 is the helpline number of Maharashtra Forest Department and you can report destruction over there. So there are many laws which protect mangroves like Coastal Regulation Zone Notification, Environment Protection Act, Maharashtra Tree Act, Water Pollution Act and Wildlife Protection Act. So we have no dearth of legislations. We have enough laws. The problem lies in implementation because of corruption or because of negligence. So as citizens, as proactive nature lovers, we can actually report these cases to Forest Department and police and actually force them to take some actions. Even you as students can do many things. My dear friends, you can actually become more aware about the mangrove forest. You have already taken first step by attending this seminar. You can also actually go on the field and visit a nearby mangrove forest. You can visit interesting websites and spread awareness about the mangroves. You can do your research project, whether it is BSc, MSc, BCom, MA, BA, and trust me, you don't have to be a science student to take a research on mangroves. Even if commerce and art facility and even engineering or graphic designer, any student can actually undertake a research on mangroves by applying his or her own subject to the mangroves. So say for example, if you are into graphic designing course, you can come up with a project on development of education material. If you're a commerce student, you can actually do cost benefit analysis of mangrove, or you can do a project on financial valuation. of mangrove ecosystem services. If you are an art student, you can perhaps do a social survey about mangroves. So there are a number of ways to actually study mangroves. And as I said, you can always register your complaints about mangrove destruction to the forest department. So these are some of the ways that as a student you can save mangroves. Also, we are blessed as Mumbai city to have many NGOs. We have, of course, Godrej Mangroves where I work. We have Vanashakti, Conservation Action Trust, Bombay Environment Action Group, BNHS, WWF India, Sprouts, United Way Mumbai. I mean, at Mumbai, we have so many NGOs. You can either become their member or you can become volunteer. You can join their nature trail or you can join a cleanup drive and pick up all the plastic from the mangrove forest. At home also, you can go for organic home products, you know, whether it is soap or your washing powder or floor cleaner. If you pick up, if you select organic products, it will cause less water pollution and harm mangroves less. We can sort out our garbage into dry and wet garbage, compost our wet garbage to make compost, and actually sell dry garbage to recyclers. So as ordinary citizens and students, these are the ways to protect mangroves. The simplest thing to do is visit our website. It is mangroves.godrej.com. In this website, under management section, check awareness section. Okay. Check the awareness section of www.mangroves.godrej.com and you will find free to download educational resources over here. You will find a set of posters, a set of storybooks, a PowerPoint presentation, and also a mobile app. In fact, this mobile app is very interesting. It is the first mobile app of Asia to illustrate mangrove plants. And we have made this app in 11 Indian languages, all the coastal languages, including Hindi and English also. So you can download this mobile app, go to your own language version, and just check and give us feedback. So when you download the app itself, you have taken first step towards the awareness about mangroves. So do visit our website and download a film, mobile app, posters, presentations, film, etc. So before I conclude my presentation, I only want to remind you about something. We are all very aware about our rights as citizens. You know, we talk about citizen rights, but we don't talk so much about citizen duties. So actually, Indian Constitution also says that like you have rights, you also have duties. And one of the fundamental duty of citizen is to protect natural environment, including forest, lakes, reserve, rivers, wildlife, and to have compassion towards the wildlife. So let us be good Indian and let us have compassion towards the wildlife and nature and try to protect it as a student, as a citizen. So with this, I'm ending my talk and I'm opening the floor open for questions and answers.
I request the participants, if they have any questions, please put your questions in the chat box. So before that, my question is, can you tell me what is the current status of mangroves in India?
Okay. Thankfully, in India, you know, it's a mixed picture, madam. In India, mangroves are growing. In terms of square kilometer, mangroves in India are growing. Mangroves in world are reducing. But my concern is about quality of mangrove forest. They may be growing because of protection in terms of square kilometer, but are we having healthy mangroves? Are we having mangrove forest with good diversity, with good width and good height is the question. So we need more study on that to definitely say whether it is good or bad picture.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, definitely. As lot many issues are going in Mumbai about the mangroves are getting maybe for the destruction purpose and all that.
Sir, I
So,
think there is double sound. I cannot hear you.
Moita
hello.
sir, please. Yes, sir.
Yes. Uh, lot many issues about the mangroves are going, maybe cutting off mangrove forest, particularly for the construction, and any action that can be taken by the government, corrective action by the government.
So the government has taken some action. As I said, it has constituted laws. Then state government and central government has constituted wetland management authority. So wetland management authority of every state and at central level is supposed to inspect and they are supposed to cross-check so-called development projects on the coastline, and they can actually reject permission if they feel the project is destructive, or they can lay out certain conditions to modify the project and reduce the destruction. In certain cases, the authority has told the municipal corporations for compensatory plantations. So if you are cutting down one tree, you have to plant 6 trees in return. So compensatory plantation also, these development projects have to undertake. Famous example is our Kulaba Metro. In Mumbai itself, you might have known the case of Metro, where in Kulaba Metro, certain mangrove trees were being destroyed and MMRDA had to go for compensatory plantation. So the government in general is taking welcome. It has also formed mangrove cell. Maharashtra state government is the only state which has formed a dedicated mangrove cell for conservation of mangroves. But the where we lack is, one problem is corruption, definitely. There is corruption in the system. And second thing is vigilance. As citizens, we need to be more vigilant and keep more check on mangroves around us.
One more question, sir. As we know that there is a coastal road development programs are undertaken by the municipal corporation, and Worli Navaseva, the Shuri Navaseva link road. Is it going to hamper the mangrove ecosystem?
Sir, you are not audible, but I believe you have asked something about the coastal road project, right?
Yes, yes,
And whether they will affect mangroves.
yes, sir.
So let me tell you one thing, that every development project by default is going to affect environment. There is no running away from that. It is a myth that there can be a project which, in fact, when we are breathing right now, we are giving out carbon dioxide. So we cannot say that now we should not live. But what we can do is to control our population, right? So in similar way, there are guidelines and checks and balances in the law. As I said, again, I'm repeating that there are very stringent norms of environmental quality monitoring, and every project has to undertake environmental impact assessment. So this environmental impact assessment is the study that predicts what will be the impact of the project on environment and how those impacts can be mitigated or reduced, how one can reduce those impacts or how one can compensate those impacts. Now, the again problem is, because of our attitude, those studies are not taken seriously, or people don't bother to read what are the what are the findings of these studies in their area. So if we become more vigilant, even as an educational institute, if we encourage students to take more projects on mangroves, obviously your local information will increase, and this information source will force authorities to take some action. And yes, coastal project is having impact on the environment. Definitely, the coastal road will have pillars, and those pillars are going to reduce water force. And when the water force is reduced, definitely sedimentation will increase. When sedimentation increases, the depth of the creek reduces, and actually because of that, there is more flash flooding in the city. In the Mumbai, we see a lot of flooding throughout monsoon for two reasons: because we are coastal city during high tide, our sewage system is very weak, our drainage system is very weak, and like if you go to Gorai, sir, Gorai jetty, you will see now the mud level is almost near the jetty. Earlier, 10-15 years back, Gorai Creek used to be 15 feet deep, and now the depth is gone because of sedimentation. So the mangroves will very happily grow over there. But is it good for city? No. So I always say that we have to take a very holistic view. Everything mangroves or just growing of mangroves is not good. Their location also matters. Their diversity matters. Their depth matters. Their width matters. So these factors need to be checked.
Thank you, sir. Sir, one more question from one student. Sir, mangrove can be invasive and also grow in unwanted or undesired areas.
Yes, it can happen. As I said, that if there is high sedimentation, if there is high mud, or if the water flow is obstructed, then mangroves start growing. In fact, in Airoli, in Thane Flamingo Sanctuary, the mangrove cell has prepared a sanctuary management plan in which they have actually suggested cutting down of mangroves. And I'm saying this is good for the sanctuary because these mangroves are growing at the creeklets and they are obstructing the water flow. And because they're obstructing the water flow, the ecosystem functions are getting disturbed. The hydrology is getting disturbed. So yes, your question is right. Mangroves can be invasive also, but this is a matter of study. Okay, it cannot be a generic statement. It can be made only after thorough scientific studies.
Thank you. That was a wonderful session, sir, today. Through your session, we gained a good knowledge on mangroves, its various species, its fruits, and how we need to preserve. And of course, we will, as a citizen of India, we definitely preserve our mangroves. So one last question from one student: can mangroves be grown in soft water? I think this was been done in the presentation,
So
but
the
still,
yes, mangroves can be replanted.
yes.
Mangroves can be grown again where mangroves have degraded. There have been plantation exercises. In fact, Maharashtra's first mangrove plantation was done by Godrej way back in 1998 and 2000, almost 21 years back. But what our observation is that you can plant mangroves, but you cannot create a forest. There's a difference between plantation and forest. Plantation will not give ecosystem services same like a forest. So it is the second best option, I will say. The first best option is to protect what you have.
Thank you. So, as we are coming to an end of session, I request Dr. Swapnil Prabhukar to felicitate our guest and present vote of thanks.
Thank you very much, sir, for such an informative session. I'm thankful to management of Thakur College of Science and Commerce and our beloved principal, Madam Dr. Mrs. Chaitali Chakraborty, for giving us opportunity to arrange such a nice session, such a nice lecture. I'm thankful to today's eminent speaker, Mr. Lakshmikant Deshpande, sir, for spending his valuable time to share his knowledge with us. Yes, about mangroves, their importance in the ecology, their importance in the medicine. Uh, till date, we were knowing the mangroves as just a kharpoti. But today, sir, you gave us such a nice information that mangroves are important in medicines as well as mangrove tea can also be done, prepared as a beverage. So I would like to thank sir for all these knowledgeable session. I would also like to offer my special thanks to Dr. Girish Tere sir and our technical team for the technical support that they have given throughout our session. Last but not the least, I thank to my dear participants for patient listening. Once again, thank you all. With the permission of the chair, I am ending the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Swapnil, and thanks Thakur College team for inviting me. It was a pleasure to speak here, and thanks for your patience. Thank you.
It's our pleasure, sir. It's our pleasure. Thank you.
Technicals to end the session, please.